Okay, well, we will get started. I know it's the last day of the month, the last day of the quarter, and everyone is busy and looking forward to the weekend, but we will get started. Thank you so much for joining me in Hireology today. My name is Kristin Tschantz, and I am our VP of Growth Marketing here at Hireology. Today, we are going to be talking about your hiring tools, particularly if you're still relying on disparate tools that require you to work across multiple systems to recruit, hire, and manage talent. Why is this important? I think everyone would agree the last 18 months will be 18 months we'll never forget. And a lot of you, especially in your current roles and your organizations, are really looking at how you can reprioritize your people, putting them at the center of what you do, and making every effort you can to prioritize hiring and talent management. It's the most difficult market, whether it be from recruiting, the market itself, external conditions like the pandemic and other things. There's a lot that's happening, and you need to make sure that your tools make this easier and more seamless. Problem is that the tools that we all have long used to attract, retain, and engage this talent have just grown inadequate, impersonal, and in some cases restrictive. So today I'm just going to dig into why this is and what exactly you can do about it now to make it easier. So let's get started. There we go. In order to provide better context to all of this, wanted to talk about the broader hiring and retention challenges that you and a lot of us all face today in this current hiring crisis. That includes applicant flow challenges, increased competition for our roles in the talent, whether it be people leaving our business or trying to take people from other ones, and then what we're calling the Great Resignation. Spent a lot of time at the Society for Human Resources conference a few weeks ago, and this is a big topic for everyone, seeing a huge tidal wave or tsunami of turnover. And so we'll talk about this a little bit more and dig into this to support it. So let's talk about applicant flow challenges. They are really at the heart of this issue, but simply put, you're struggling to get people to even apply for your open roles, and this is tied to what we're all feeling in turnover. So let's talk about why that is happening. Let's look at the labor market. I'm sure a lot of us have seen this chart. Very interesting if you can kind of mark when we all were locked inside during COVID in April and May. The past 2 years, it's the most dramatic shift we'll ever see in a lifetime for this labor market. We reached 14.8% unemployment after sitting pretty in a 3 to 4% unemployment for the last few years. It's a huge swing. Millions of people were out of work, and it was a really difficult time. Fast forward 18 months, we've slowly opened up and rehired many of those people, but still unemployment lingers at about 5.2%, which is 2 percentage points higher than the pre-pandemic level. This means that still millions of people who were employed before the pandemic are out of work or choosing not to get back into work. You'd think this would bode well for a lot of us as employers and hiring managers. You'd be able to find people to work for you, but as you all know, too well, this hasn't been the case. So these are some headlines I'm sure all of us are tired of seeing, tired of getting forwarded to us. But this is what's happening, and the opposite has happened of what we predicted would have happened post-COVID. It's been harder and harder to attract talent. Businesses across industries are ramping up hiring faster than ever before as we look to reopen, get back to pre-COVID productivity levels, really use this as an opportunity to rethink and put people at the center. But the problem is the applicants aren't there, or they're unwilling to make that move. This problem is universal, but it's really hitting companies hard with hourly positions and mid-tier salary positions, things retail, hospitality, restaurants, bars, car dealerships, home healthcare providers across the board. It's really making it difficult, and you're all competing for the same level of talent. Let's dig a little bit deeper about some nuanced factors that are happening to cause this more than what we've been hearing in the news headlines. We have retiring baby boomers. I know I am the daughter of a retired baby boomer that just used the COVID opportunity to hang up his hat. There's a lack of childcare. If you think about a lot of women in the workplace or primary caregivers being fathers, not having the childcare or the access to that, or very complicated childcare because of COVID, is just not there to allow people to go back to work. Declining population. This has been something Hireology has been talking about for a while as a factor to pre-unemployment rates, is that we just have less people as we have children later joining the entry level labor pool. And then the biggest thing, the biggest factor that is preventing a lot of us from getting the people that we want in seat is the evolving job seeker needs and expectations. And in the last 18 months, what we prioritize, what we look for, what is important to us as employees has completely shifted and become a different ball game for all of us as recruiters to go after. So all of these factors, plus just the environmental conditions, are leading to what we call this applicant flow problem. There are just fewer people out there looking for work. And the people who are actively seeking employment are not necessarily interested in the roles that they might have had before. They've changed what they want from a career, and ultimately there's a mismatch between what job seekers want and what employers are offering. The next big issue that's impacting almost every industry right now is increased competition. Businesses are hiring in every single sector, and it's causing a situation where, let's say you're a dealership, and in the past you may have only competed with other dealerships in your area. Now you're competing with Amazon, Starbucks, those restaurants that are reopening, those hotels that are reopening. People who all have a customer service mindset are competing for talent with each other. It's making it harder and harder to find people to come work for you. And now this challenge presents itself differently because it's more than just what we were doing before to solve for this issue that's gonna be there. So let's talk about the applicant and what they're looking at so we can better understand how to tackle this. Hireology conducted an annual survey this year. We did it last year as well to understand what job seekers are looking for and really shed some light about what's happening. Close to 70% of those that responded to our survey said they are applying to well over 5 jobs. In the past, we've typically seen this much lower, between 2 to 3. So they're not being as selective in the application process, and that's probably super frustrating for you all as HR leaders to kind of sift through all these applicants and manage through that. This means that those who are seeking work also have a ton of options. So you need to differentiate yourself. And in some cases, you as a recruiter, as an employer, are competing with 15 plus other companies. That's a lot, and that's the big shift in this kind of post-pandemic situation. Similarly, if you kind of look at the same study, about 35% said that they heard back from more than 5 of the companies that they responded to. So where you used to be able to, hey, if I get back to them faster and I do this much more, that is, how I'm going to have a competitive edge. Now that's table stakes. You need to have a platform and a recruiting process that's going to allow you to get back to them quickly because 5 other companies are doing that. Again, this points to the idea that people have a lot of options and you're competing against a lot of, dozens of other employees to really build your best team and fill these seats with top talent. In addition to hearing back from them, they're hearing back from them faster. So about 43% of respondents say they actually accepted an offer just 2 weeks after they applied. 2 weeks. Think about when you were applying for jobs and we were looking for before, even pre-COVID. 2 weeks felt like a really short period of time to apply, interview, and find a new position. That's no longer the case. That's just a few days for each step in that process I just kind of quickly went over. So if you're taking a few weeks or even a few days to respond to the best applicants, you're going to lose them to the competitors we just mentioned. You're going to lose them to the other dozens, the other retailers, the big box companies, the Starbucks, the hotels, et cetera, that's out there. There's so much competition. It's about how you can be first, how you can be fastest, and how you can be the best. So now you need to figure out how you can do that and reach these people in the right way. Let's talk finally about the third issue that's causing this increased competition for filling your best seats, and it's what we call the Great Resignation. Here's a story that kind of represents it. You've seen this out there. It's pretty fascinating phenomenon that is kind of a cause and effect from the pandemic. 41% of the current workforce would consider leaving their current job within a year. So if you think about your staff, well, you just say you have 100 people on staff helping your retail operation, whatever it may be, operate. You can anticipate in the next year, 40 of those 100 will plan to put in their notice. Are you prepared for that? Do you have a pipeline of talent? How are you making sure that you're catering to what employees not that are in current? Are you supporting them with good payroll and recruiting and HRIS and learning system processes. There's a lot that goes into this. There's so much that's nuanced about why people are there. But I think as people have been cooped up for a year and a half, or the options for what they can do has changed, or they've just reevaluated things, they are looking for new jobs that fit a new lifestyle. This is a really interesting stat. It'll be interesting for all of us to follow in this space. So let's talk about it from Hireology's kind of survey again, as we ask them how the pandemic has affected your sense of loyalty to your employer. Kind of an interesting way to phrase it, but if you were to ask a lot of people who even work at, I'll use Hireology as an example, being super, super loyal to the company is something that we're really proud of. And so we need to dig in as employers and understand where people are sitting. About half of the respondents to this study, so job seekers across multiple industries, that the pandemic has negatively impacted their sense of loyalty to their employer. It shows that people just don't feel the same way that they did before about it, and they've evolved their changing needs and expectations, as I mentioned before. So this is really interesting. And so how do you make sure that you're catering to that group that may have changed their perception or are prepared to fill those seats fast with high top talent? So another mind-blowing finding from our study supports this. Nearly 9 in 10, so 86%, that they would consider a different industry if they were to change jobs now. Different industry. So this is not even just, hey, I'm going to go from this retail operation to the one across the street, or I'm going to leave this dealership to go to this one, or I'm going to become a caregiver here and become a different one somewhere else. They are willing to leave their industry. And this number remained pretty even across all the industries that we talk to, the people from different things. So whether it was healthcare, retail, hospitality, professional services, people are willing to kind of say, hey, this is the time for a change. And I'm not only willing to change who I work for, but what I'm doing. So it's an attracting and hiring problem, but once you get them on board, getting them to stick around now is harder than ever. So you really need to think about, how am I attracting people? How am I hiring them? And how am I managing them? So here's where this problem gets put into context and why this new market, the applicant economy, the great resignation really become that much more difficult for you that are joining us today. It's your disparate tools. It's the tech stack that you have that's supporting you run your business. Today's current events shows that the modern workforce has evolved. I just walked you through some stats and some examples. These job seekers and employees aren't the same people they were before. So as your business, you have to adapt to them, but you can't just operate. You can't find a way to adapt without changing the way you operate and the tools that you use to do it. We have been kind of relegating hiring and talent management to HR teams to kind of some clunky and outdated systems. I think, we were using systems that were built for solving one problem, like running your tax and benefits, to help you with the recruiting problems, or trying to shoehorn in things that don't necessarily always fit. And because if you think about the true nature of what we've all been talking about, what we've been living, people are at the center of all of our productivity and our ability to be successful as a business. So why not put people at the center of your problem and your HR systems, so that you don't miss out on top talent to competition, that you don't have to worry about the great resignation as much as everyone else, and you don't lose out on being as successful as other people. So let's talk about what the actual issue is with disparate HR tools and what we mean here. It's not that your tools you're using that are designed for one specific party or hiring process are ineffective. One would say, hey, you have probably a great onboarding system and it's working great for you. Most of them are really powerful, and being at SHRM, I can tell you there's some really great players in this space, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. The problem is that we're all using a million different tools in a million different ways, and they're all disconnected. Their effectiveness and your ability to kind of really support the employee from applicant all the way through to when you're coaching them and promoting them, et cetera, that ineffectiveness really can hinder your business. So let's talk about some examples of what this looks like. Siloed sourcing channels tools make it tough to reach enough job seekers. As a marketer, this is a topic I'm super passionate about. If I don't know and don't have a way to manage all of my different marketing channels, it becomes super, super complicated and super, super difficult, and things fall through the cracks, and I can't make good decisions. You need something that's going to pull everything together and let you know, hey, here's where I'm getting a high volume of applicants, but here's where I'm getting a high volume of hires. And I should really be looking at who's helping me fill my open seats with really good talent. This also can help you, disparate tools also help you slow down your process. It's making you jump from system to system, doing things manually and having to upload and download, etc. And that upload download makes you prone to errors. Manual data reentry and siloed information is ripe for mistakes. And I think as we're all moving fast and trying to get back to normal and really drive our business forward, those mistakes can be super costly. Thinking about putting the employee at the center of all of this and why they're the priority, this could help, your disparate systems could really, really deliver a poor candidate experience. The applicants today in today's economy, which is why we call it the applicant economy at Hireology, have all the cards. They have the way to make a decision. So you need to deliver the best experience possible. The things we just talked about manifest and make that happen. And so you're going slow, you're losing their info, they have to double enter things into a system. It just feels, if it feels clunky for you, imagine what it feels like for the candidate. And that's a lot of burden to put on your HR teams. And finally, those frustrated candidates often end up becoming frustrated employees. They just navigated a rocky hiring process, and now the onboarding and post-hire management is rocky too. You have different tools for payroll, time tracking, benefits, and it's tough on the employee to even get the basics of their job done the right way. What you need to do, and what we all want to do as leaders and business owners and HR operators, is get top talent in the door, get them hired fast, get them onboarded even faster, so that they can get to productivity and helping your business as fast as possible. Having systems that don't talk to each other, don't work with each other, and aren't the best in their field can really slow this down and make it complicated. So let's talk about what that means. If you take all of those things to do, it becomes impossible to hire and retain top talent. You're finding yourself right back where you started, and it's really, really hard. It's a vicious cycle that you can't seem to get out of. Current events even making hiring and retaining talent harder than ever. So you work extra hard to find people, keep them around, but it's exacerbating the situation. I would like to give my plug right now. Give your HR team a hug, or if you're an HR leader, know that we empathize with you. With this kind of environment and these kinds of systems, it makes it so hard for someone to be successful in that seat and help the business move forward. If this sounds familiar, I want to let you know that you're not alone. And so let's talk about how we can bring it all together and make it really easy for you. There are 3 big benefits for an all-in-one tool, how you bring these things together. You're able to reach more applicants. So, hey, if they're applying to 5 more jobs, how do you make sure that you're one of those 5? You can move faster on top talent. So be first, give the best experience, reach them as fast as possible. And then ultimately you can curb turnover, bring everything together and make sure that you're managing people to their most effective and best potential. So repeat it, reach more applicants, move faster on top talent, and curb turnover. So let's talk about how we can reach more applicants. In order to maximize your reach, you have to have a presence in a lot of different channels, much like you would your company's marketing strategy, much like how we run things at Hireology for our marketing team. Organic and paid job boards, referrals, social, Google and SEO, social media. There are so many more options as recruiters today to figure out how to get in front of an applicant and reach them where they are and get them to apply to your company. How do you put that in front of them? It's no longer just enough to be on a job board. Super valuable to be there, great place to source applicants, but there's so many more options that you can have help you bring them together. When all of these channels though feed into different tools, they come into your email even, they're not all connected, you lose sight of some of it. They get lost in that email, they get lost in chat systems or spreadsheets, and you're not able to even track or optimize what's working. It would be really, really hard to know that, hey, employee referrals are actually 40% of my hires, but I see in another system that paid job boards are 50% of my applicants. Those 2 things you would make 2 different decisions on when you could really be driving better hires, faster hires for your business. When you have an all-in-one system that integrates with all of these different opportunities for you to attract applicants, everyone goes into the same system. Value proposition gives you, and this also allows you to track it, as I just talked about, gives you the insights you need to be a better applicants. Now, how do you move platform, everything from your applicant tracking to your candidate communication to even ordering drug screens and conducting reference checks all happens under one roof, to put it simply. You're not bouncing around from your ATS to your email to communicate and schedule interviews. You can do it all in one place, and then it's in the place where all of your sourcing got put into, a system. You're not using a separate Google Drive to score interviews. There's some consistency there. You can make sure that every hiring manager is doing it the right way. You're not relying on chat or email to communicate next steps with your team. You're able to see, hey, this person applied on Monday. We got back to them on Tuesday. Interview was Wednesday. We need it scored so we can move on them fast. You can make sure that you're in front of the process and in front of your competition on this. And then finally, the part that's really, I can empathize with, and it's really important for those of you on the call who are hiring managers, you don't have to log into countless systems to do it, to send skills tests, to do drug screens, to do what you need to do. If it's all in one place, you're able to really focus on, is this person the right person for my business? And how does my team feel about having them join our culture and driving our business forward? You can create repeatable and predictable processes with everything in one place that everyone can follow. Data is centralized, and you're never having to chase this down. You're saving time even for yourself. Moving fast for the applicant and moving fast for your business should be a win-win situation for everyone. If you can move more efficiently and with fewer errors, it becomes a much better situation. So let's talk about the final thing and respond to kind of the Great Resignation. How do you make sure that you curb turnover? We talked about how you reach more applicants in one system, how you move faster on top talent. Now let's talk about curbing turnover. Same concept here. Just as candidates are frustrated when your hiring processes are disparate and clunky, your employees are frustrated when post-hire processes are disparate and clunky. They feel it. Has anyone had their pay stub or their payroll system or their benefits not properly processed? Have you ever run into a situation where variable comp isn't tracked? Or, hey, I'm still waiting for my onboarding paperwork. Oh, you have to bring in multiple copies of your ID, different times. It's a painful experience and takes away from the positive momentum that you've had with an employee during their hiring process. And so there's ways that we can all go over this and kind of change it. So an all-in-one system brings in all of that data and that information that I just talked about. It brings in new hire data into a central location where you can manage what I pay, benefit, election, etc. You can manage scheduling and time off for those of us who have big teams that have to go into homes or have retail schedules. Managing that schedule is super important. You can also make sure that you're managing PTO and that time off and looking at that more effectively so that you understand what your business is up against. It all comes together to create a really seamless experience for your employees when they finally get on board. And that's what the ultimate goal should be, catering to the applicant and putting the employee at the center of your business. It's those first couple of weeks that set the stage for your new employee. If they feel frustrated right away, it's going to impact their likelihood of sticking around long term. Plus, it's easier for your HR team too. It saves them time and headaches, and that team deserves it right now. There's actually a statistic out there about why having such an important start and such an important onboarding and all of these things go into hitting day one right. 69% of people who had a positive onboarding experience will stay 3 years at their business. So think about, if you want to prevent turnover down the road, it's all about what you deliver from day one after post-hire. And you need your systems to talk to each other so that you don't lose a step or lose a mark there. So when all of these three things come together, how you attract, how you hire, and how you manage your platform, they come into this all-in-one integrated solution. Each part of the talent management process, attract, hire, and manage, is interconnected and flows seamlessly together. There are platforms out there that are really, really good at all of these individually and do talk to each other. So it's super important. Applicants can easily then become candidates, and candidates can easily become hires, and those hires become lifetime, loyal, highly productive employees. So benefits to hit on again: you reach more candidates, you make fewer mistakes, you move faster, you stay ahead of your competition, and ultimately you keep your candidates' employees happy because you put people at the center of this process. So Appreciate your time. I know this was a fast one today, but I also understand it's the end of the month and the end of the quarter. So I just want to summarize a little bit about what we're seeing. The 2021 hiring crisis that we live in today is not going anywhere. We're going to continue to face difficult conditions, the applicant economy. What we're up against is going to make it hard. And you're going to need tools and solutions and partners that really support you in this, and a network of HR leaders as well. Keeping pace with today's modern workforce and what they look for in the next 10 to 15 years requires modern tools that match it. And so this means that you need to embrace an all-in-one platform that helps you reach more talent, move faster on top candidates, and curb turnover. And so with that, I will open it up to questions. Feel free to unmute yourself or chat it in, and I can answer anything today.
Hey, Kristin, it looks like we have one question that's come through so far from Kelsey. What is the value of having payroll built into your HR platform?
Yeah, great question. And there's a lot of great options out there to do this, but essentially it gets back to kind of something I just talked about, which is preventing error, moving fast, and delivering a great candidate experience. And all of those things are connected, but it's really, really about, hey, if I have payroll connected to my HRIS, to my LMS, to my ATS, we're really good at acronyms in this space, and how we're recruiting, it allows my HR team to deliver a really positive candidate experience, really put that at the forefront of what you do. And that means moving faster and preventing those errors. And so that's where this really comes together, about driving efficiencies and driving a better experience for everybody. Any other questions, Hannah, that we've seen come through?
I'm not seeing anything else, so I think we are all set.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. If you have any questions or want to follow up with us directly, feel free to reach out to Hireology. We appreciate your time, and good luck on the last day of this fiscal quarter, and we look forward to talking to you in Q4.